whatever.
Oh, hey everybody! So that's my recipe for the best chili, and you're never going to get it because Dan forgot to press the live button. It's a secret ingredient.
I can't wait to try it.
I know it's explosive in so many ways.
Yeah, the last time I took one of your recipes down, it didn't end well for me. My arsehole got torn up something rotten. So, yeah. Oh, forgot we are live. Yes.
Oh, hi everybody.
Yes. So, oh, we've got the fourth man as well. Hi,
Rabbi.
No,
just in hot
there he
from
is.
Stream. Okay, what recipe and how did your bomb get torn up by it? Was it from shooting?
No, Rabbi, you weren't you weren't here, so you don't get to get it. But you did miss a conversation earlier about explaining creamed crackers.
Oh, I like creamed crackers.
Yes, because I was not aware.
Because every time you fall asleep on the stream, Rabbi, and shuffle away to your bed, you always say, "I've got to go. I'm cream crackered," and it's been mystifying Chris for the last.
Oh, okay. It's Cockney rhyming slang for "I'm awfully tired." I'm knackered. It's Cockney rhyming slang for "I'm knackered," which means I'm very tired.
Because I got it wrong. I said, because I may have to leave a little bit earlier. So I said, I'm going to leave. And I got your thing wrong. I said, I'm going to cream my crackers. And then Gary was disgusted.
So totally different. Totally different. You don't want that cracker at all. No,
that's it. Well, it depends on, if like sour cream, maybe. Cream cheese, even though I can't eat it because it does worse things to me than the chili. But yeah, so it depends what kind of cream is on the cracker. But if it's the one cream, and if your mind went there automatically, you are a very dirty person.
I am a very
because there's lots of cream that can go on crackers.
Really?
But everybody's brain just goes automatically to that one type of cream, which is just gross.
Do you really think the Rabbi could be a dirty kind of person?
I don't know.
Instagram
I thought I kept it well hidden.
Spacebook.
Oh, have you watched 28 Days in the Valley yet? I figured you'd be right on.
No,
that.
I have. No,
I did a Google search. No, I sent you a screenshot of it, Rabbi. I sent you a.
It looked fabulous. It looked
fantastic.
Awesome.
Watch the trailer, dude.
On it right now, because
Kino Lorber has it, dude. Just get it from Kino. It's a nice Blu-ray release, and you will enjoy half the movie. You will watch it many times, as many people have. It's like the only reason people know that movie for is because Terry Hatcher forgets to wear pants for the first half. And that's its most it's a really messed up movie. It's like
wonderful things to forget
Chris,
in the world.
It could happen to anybody. It could happen to the best of us.
Well, it's like those late 90s sort of like absurdist film noir type things. It's awesome, but Rabbi will like it for that one reason.
For me, ultimate Terry Hatcher is still what's that scene? What's the name? Not Die Another Day. Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yep.
He undoes her dress from behind, right, and it like falls off, and her laundry just looks perfect on her. Right?
Oh,
like,
I know
laundry look before.
Painted on.
I know the scene, Rabbi. We saw that in the theater. Nobody wanted to get up.
I was like that with Scarlett Johansson in Iron Man 1 as well. I like literally gripped my armrests. Very disturbingly, when I went to see Man of Steel. My daughter gripped her armrest when Henry Cavill came out with his shirt off. Like, what? Who's that?
We're having a fun time. How is everyone?
I'm just thinking because we're talking largely about James Bond later. We've already talked about a Bond girl technically, but I've been plugging this show to places where James Bond fans go, and I'm just thinking the people who have never seen this show before and they've tuned in to see what we've got to say about Bond, and they found us talking about recipes, arseholes, cream crackers.
We work up to it.
Well, before we went live, we were talking about that awesome Dark City 4K that. I will.
Oh, I hear that's excellent. I do hear that's excellent.
I got it on Wednesday. I have not opened the shrink wrap. I've been tempted, but I'm doing a movie night tomorrow. I've got popcorn. I'm going to watch the movie. I'm going to watch all the extras, and I may watch the film again, possibly twice with both commentaries. If you have not seen Dark City, folks, it is a masterpiece. It is one of the best movies ever made. I own the VHS. I own the crappy snapper case DVD. I own the confounding Blu-ray with the white cover, which I never understood. And I have what it is probably, and I've heard the transfer is outstanding as well. But I have what is now probably my favorite Arrow video release. Yeah. This is, even though I haven't watched yet, I already know this is going to be my number one Blu-ray release or 4K release of the year. And it was the only thing I bought this month because I'm broke and it cost a fortune.
Yeah, that is something else, but it is fabulous. My favorite moment in that movie, right? Favorite, and it's really obscure, is William Hurt. He plays this detective in it, and at one point he says, "Stop! Don't move!" And everybody runs away, and he looks at the camera and says, "No one ever listens to me." Just that one line made me laugh a lot.
And as much as I adore Jennifer Connelly from The Rocketeer, she is luminous in this movie. Where she's up on stage singing those 40s songs, you just sit there and you just go, "Oh my Lord."
And listen, afterwards, try and download a highlight reel from the hotspot, right? And then you're done for the night. Trust me.
Oh, that's the film she did with Don Johnson. Was it Dennis Hopper was in that?
I think he directed it as well, didn't he?
Connolly's awesome.
For me personally, I don't know how we got on this. For me personally, the Jennifer Connelly trifecta is The Rocketeer, Dark City, and Career Opportunities, that John Hughes movie.
Interested.
Where they're trapped on the rocking horse, where they're trapped in the Target, and she just has that one scene where she's on it. You just go, "Okay, I can die now."
What about Phenomena? Well, nobody ever knows about that one.
Listen. I watched the entirety of Snowpiercer because of Jennifer Connelly. I don't think anybody can say they've done more for the service.
How is that?
I've sat through some terrible films. Would you recommend that? As well.
No, not the movie, the TV show.
Would you recommend that, Rabbi?
Yeah, I put that in around the Defiance category, right? The same thing with the Foundation. You know, remember the show Defiance?
Sci-fi channel, a sort of space western thing.
Yeah, so it was set in St. Louis. They had the St. Louis art, and it had Tony Curran in it, who was very, very good. But generally, it wasn't great, but it was good enough and interesting. And I like the world building, but it was never Battlestar Galactica good. It was just like, okay. So I put that. That's my average sci-fi level, right? That's like below par. I will put Voyager above that, right? And then, so I put what we just talking about. I put it at that level.
The Snowpiercer.
So yeah, Snowpiercer definitely at the Earth Final Conflict. All that is in the same box.
I loved that show when it first came on, Earth Final Conflict.
How long did it take you to work out the alien was really a girl?
Oh, I think it was how long did it take me to work out it was shit? Probably about 8 hours.
I have if you like Jennifer Connelly, I got a recommendation.
Yes.
So Phenomena, directed by Dario Argento, one of my favorite directors.
Oh, he's great.
Stars Jennifer Connelly, a wheelchair-bound Donald Pleasance, and a monkey.
In that order.
Nothing can go wrong with that.
That sounds like a Hangover.
It's Argento. His films are acid trips. They're awesome.
Okay.
Well, no, avoid anything he did after about 2004 because he made some of the worst movies ever.
Oh.
But anything before that.
Is she in that movie about the monkey, about the other film about the monkey as well?
Which monkey is that? Monkey.
The hyper-intelligent monkey. It's like an 80s film, the late 80s. It's got a really... All I know is that the lead... I know that the lead in it, the woman in it, is like really, really hot. And...
You're talking about Monkey Shines?
No, it wasn't.
That was
maybe it's the same
horror. That wasn't about that was like about experimentation on Monday.
And we can't forget Labyrinth, but I put Labyrinth in the kind of kid.
See, that's category. The trouble, though.
She's still a kid in that.
Yeah,
movie.
She can't go in the spank bank at that point. That's
retroactively not nice.
A great movie, but.
Well, let's not forget Requiem for a Dream, which probably has another one of Rabbi's favorite scenes. But that is the most. I watched it again recently, and I hold true to the fact that is the most depressing movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, I believe that.
Possibly the best Bond girl that never was. Obviously, if you've got your top 5 monkey-related movies that are non-Planet of the Apes films, let us know in the comments. Hit us up with those. You get a whole show to that, I think, Karen.
Wizard of Oz.
Flying monkeys in that. Talking about flying, we better get flying, hadn't we? A hyperspace sort of beckons, as does everything else we've got to talk about on this edition of the show. We've got some great talking points from the week in Geek to hit up, and you can comment along too there on YouTube and Rumble. As always, we're streaming across all channels too, so yeah, roll up, as they say. Before we go there, let's have a little bit of this.
Ours is not a perfect world, Hello.
That's my Diet Coke is so refreshing. Great taste, just like gallery. It's the perfect soft drink for an imperfect world.
1 calorie, just for the taste of it. Diet Coke.
Yes. Out of hyperspace, back down to Earth, sighted on our mark. It's the Spacebook Live with another, the next of our special live streams. It's Saturday, the 28th of June, 2025, really, as of streaming. And we're here with all of Out There Entertainment sort of locked in our sights on YouTube and on Rumble too. I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. I'm joined by the retro doc himself, Gary Akers, blessed with yet another fabulous cap.
That's right. Double O 1/2 today.
The rabbi's not creamed his crackers yet, so we've got him for a little while at least.
If I had, I'd keep it to myself. Actually, can I tell you an area of consternation involving creaming my crackers, right? My wife wanted a new toilet for a while, right? Our toilet, it's for me, it's fine, right? But you know, she's like, it's a bit cracking on. So I was like, last time the plumber was there, I asked him, how much is a new toilet? It's about $150, right? $200. I'm like, oh, fair enough. Then the next day, or a couple of days later, my wife's calling me saying, he's at the store now buying a new toilet. Do you want to come and put it in today? I'm like, whoa, wait, because this is a major purchase for me. I hadn't thought about that.
Toilet.
It is. Anyway, long story short, he put the new toilet in. It was a nightmare, right? I had to deal with the animals. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I got to use it. This thing is a good 10% smaller than anything. I feel my knees around my ears. I'm like, what the hell?
Rabbi, you should have asked for a test drive before.
I should have done. I didn't think about it. Again, it was just firstly I went from I'm vaguely interested into a new toilet to suddenly it's being installed now. Right? I didn't have time to think. It just jarred me. So that's where I am now. Now I'm using my guest toilet because I'm like, well, at least you know, I can.
You can't use your own lavvy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now I'm adopting a new one. That's what I said to you. I'm like laying my scent down liberally.
I mean, in the good weather, you can always go to ground. I suppose outside, you could always dig up, but you know, people would.
No. I'm an indoor pooper. That's basically an ongoing thing.
Obviously, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your loss, Rabbi. Obviously, thank you for sharing.
It's a tough one, but you know. Okay. And good news is, it's only a couple $100 to get it changed, I guess. It's just like, do I have to?
Can you have to get another new one, or could you get that one fitted out, like when you pimp out a car, like in the Fast and the Furious?
I always wanted one of those Japanese ones they talked about on South Park. That was. I'm like, tell me more about that. That's interesting.
The ones that sing.
I don't know what they do, but the Japanese are, you know, they're strange people. My son is actually planning a 3 months trip to Japan. I have no idea if he's going to do it or not. He's getting out of the army this week, so him and his wife. But I've asked him that the one thing I wanted to bring home from Japan is you can get soiled women's underwear in a vending machine.
I was just about to say that is one of the strangest things they do.
I will put that on my wall with pride, right? Yeah, my parents one time, they were in an antique store and they had this the most racist thing they've ever seen, which was a black man's face with his mouth open, and it said at the top, "Throw the ball in the darkie's mouth game." Literally written on it, right? I wish they bought that.
Good God.
We do not endorse that.
We don't, but it's so bad. I also wanted to buy Jeffrey Dahmer's fridge that he kept human parts in. Well,
so you know what's going to happen now, Rabbi, because you and I were both on this stream, and that was said by you, and I'm here in the guise of a goat wearing a dress, but it's still me. On Monday, there's going to be about 15 videos
on X.
canceling the both of us for the 100th time.
It'll be on X in 3 hours.
Yep.
I mean, the thing is, different cultures all over the world. I mean, underwear in vending machines. I think you meant in case they had some sort of accident, and needed to change into something. Soiled. But you mean
it's soiled?
Yeah. Oh, good.
There's no way around this. There's no way saying this is okay. There's no way. It's just bad.
Obviously, if you're well travelled and you've been and you might have seen this for yourself, or even seen the actual machines. let us know. Is it true? And put the rabbi out of his misery, out of his curiosity there. Instagram and X at Spacebook for that. We don't need to see any pictures though.
Don't Google it. Do yourself a favor.
Okay, so yeah, we are back for another round of the same, really, out there entertainment. As always, in our sites, we'll try and take the mask off a couple of things, a couple of points, and hit some bases, pick up some comments from the live chat too, and see what everybody's got to say. Obviously, there's a big news story to get to concerning one of our favourite franchises, possibly my personal favourite franchise. It feels like it's been asleep for a long time, but we're gradually getting word on that. But last week we had a lot of words about this. It was our physical media night last week. We got stuck into comparing Blu-rays and 4Ks and DVDs, retro stuff too. So that was a lot of fun. But this very week, I did notice that one of the boutique labels we talked extensively about last week has dropped their latest consignment of releases, haven't they? All across social media. So I gather they do this every month, Chris. They kind of let you know what's coming in any month, and there's a list of titles, and they say, hey, this is what you're having, so that people can, I suppose, get their pre-orders in, because a lot of the titles are of limited numbers, is what I'm picking up on.
Almost all their releases are, and then they'll come out as a standard release later without a fancy slipcover. But yes, Arrow always does their announcements once a month on a Friday, usually the last Friday of the month. And what they always do is they tease the releases on social media on Wednesday, and they'll give you just a little obscure picture or photograph or something, some kind of clue as to what's coming out on Friday. Although this time everybody, including myself, guessed what it was. It was a dock, a ladder attached to a dock from a swimming incident that none of us would ever want to experience because it would suck. It would also turn you off swimming forever, and you'll never want to go to a dock in the middle of the lake again. I'm sure some people know what I'm talking about, but yes. And Scream Factory used to do a big event of this too, until they left X because they hate us. So now they just announced their stuff over on Blue Sky to like the 20 people that see it. So nobody cares about those anymore. But no, I think that one of the biggest things each month is the Arrow video release. And the way they do it is awesome as well, because they'll announce it. The announcements start to go live at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and they announce them one at a time. So there we go. So Dan, what do we have here?
Yeah, we've got the full consignment here. This is what they put out on social media, because I'm relatively new to the convert to the boutique label since finally getting a 4K TV. I didn't see much point in buying any 4Ks until I got the 4K TV. So looking at upgrading some titles that I've had for years and years, some of my favorite movies. I was really interested to see the sort of hype build for this, and to see which titles were going to be here. And I noticed that they don't just sort of denote what month they're going to be out, but they also let you know that some of these are specific to different countries in the world too. Now, as I understand it, all 4Ks are the same region, but there is a sort of a region system still to Blu-ray itself, far simpler than the old DVD one, but a system nonetheless. Whereas everything, it's sort of everybody can get everything on 4K is what I've noticed. So yeah, let's have a quick look at what's coming, because some of these I've heard of and some of them I haven't, guys. And I thought you'd be the perfect people to ask about the ones that I don't. So American Gigolo's there at the top, the Richard Gere movie from I think it was the late 70s, something like that.
1980.
Yeah.
1980. Now, I know I've seen this, but it was one of those I saw when I was a kid. I probably shouldn't have seen it. It was on late night TV. I didn't really understand it. So I'd probably watch this again. This isn't something I'd buy on a boutique label, but I suppose the breadth of variety in these listings really did surprise me. I don't mind telling you, Gary.
I would think, I don't know what's more famous, the movie itself or the Call Me, the Blondie song that came out from of it.
Oh, is that from that? Oh, yeah, big. That was a big hit. And the poster's iconic as well. So why is there two editions there? Is that just different artworks to choose from, or are there two different editions? Is this standard as well, Chris?
So yeah, this is in the UK. I believe the case with this one is two different covers.
Gotcha.
And I believe the one on the left, I think, is the fancy one. I think it's the hard box. I didn't really look that hard into this one because
the one in the middle looks more like boutique without.
Yeah.
I would say the one is a more expensive one.
I probably won't be getting that one because even though Arrow is region free, well, they're 4Ks and some of their Blu-rays. But yeah, this one it costs a small fortune to import them, so I usually don't do that. But from what the looks of it right here, I think the one on the left is a hard box, and the one on the right.
Gotcha.
Oh, you're right. It's much bigger. Look at that. It's much deeper.
Yeah, and the one on the right is. It looks like a stand. No, actually, it looks like a slip box too. Yeah, probably just they did this with Carlito's Way and a few other movies where you can get multiple different boxes.
I've never heard of Deadstream either. That looks right up your street, Chris. That looks like either a late 80s or early 90s sort of.
Oh, I'm not happy with the situation about this one, and I don't blame Arrow. So that's a Blu-ray release. Almost certainly this one's going to be region B locked. I could be wrong, but it probably will be. It's a recent film that actually looks really cool, but the reason why it isn't being released by Arrow in North America is because this is actually owned by Shudder, so streaming service in the US. But what really irritates me about this is anything that's on Shudder, you can't get on Amazon Canada. You can only get those from third-party sellers. So technically, this isn't available in Canada. It's only available in the UK and the US. Although I'm probably I can import the US release. Although I've been debating it because there's a steelbook available that's like $50. So I don't blame Arrow. I haven't seen it, but based on what I've seen, it looks really cool. So at some point I'll get it. Disappointed that it isn't region 1, but again, unlike Scream Factory, does these kind of things just to be jerks. When Arrow does it, there's usually a reason behind it because every time they release a movie, they try to get region 1 and region 2 rights. And if it's only region 2, that just means they couldn't get the rights, and usually that's because somebody else has released it in region 1.
I must say, trawling through their social medias, they do seem not only to relish the sort of announcements, Gary, and find a way of sort of rousing the audience back to the pages and sort of with anticipation for what could be coming, but that this kind of very clear denotation of what each release is, where it's going to go, how much it's going to set you back. It's quite refreshing when you think about other labels, particularly. I mean, in Britain there are some labels that do try having said that with TV releases, like Network used to. But this seems like a far slicker operation. I know Arrow are UK based as well, aren't they? But with an international sort of scope.
I mean, it's very clever how I think Chris referred to it, how they give clues like in the days leading up to it, because if you see it on Facebook, you're invested. You want to come back and find out if your guesses are right. It's like a little bit of a mystery, what's going to be the reveal. It's very good marketing.
I've never heard of Deadstream, but going down a row.
2022 movie, so it's new.
Oh, it's a new one.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
It looked very 80s to me, but okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I think all the custom artwork tends to look quite 80s. I've never heard of Proof of the Man either. That looks like a major sort of international release. Looks like it's maybe
that's got to be an old one because that's George Kennedy on the cover. So that's got to be like in the over on the right, about halfway down on the right. So that's got to be like a 70s thing. I think.
I was drawn to the language at the top. It looks Cantonese or something. Rabbi, I couldn't work out.
It's Japanese. This is Arrow's actually found a little bit of a niche here, and they've actually done pretty well. But they've been releasing a lot of classic Japanese movies. They put out a lot of J-horror, which has become one of my new favorite genres. Almost all of them I have are from Arrow. So this is kind of in that vein of just they started with Japanese horror, but now they're going into all sorts of Japanese genres because people watch them and they like them. So it's more than kung fu. It's like really, like, I think some of the most twisted, sadistic horror movies I have ever seen are Japanese, and they are awesome. I haven't heard of this one. I am probably getting it just because I've got all the others. There is a Japanese crime collection from the late 80s, which I want to get before it goes out of print. But yeah, so no, this is they've been doing this for a while, and I think almost every month they have one Japanese film.
There's one title that joins that line. So it's really interesting to look at the variety, but there's nothing that I would have bought myself really so far. I'm very curious to see American Gigolo again. I'm very curious to see American Gigolo again, Rabbi. But when I saw Lost in Space and Creepshow, when I saw Lost in Space and Creepshow both listed here, I thought, okay, those are two films that I know pretty well.
Lost in Space. That was fantastic. I was just going to say, Proof of the Man, that should have like contemporary ads that you'll see in the cinema when you saw that.
Yeah.
To put you in that mood. Lost in Space. That's really one of my favorite adaptations of all time. Like, just everything about that work. Bill Mummy should have taken the role as old Will Robertson rather than, I can't remember who had it and said. But yeah, like everything about this worked. They just got nothing. Yeah, it was all good, and it was also very, I would say, authentic to Lost in Space.
Yeah, I saw it at the cinema. I think I had a date that night, but it went down really well. It was a good date movie, whilst also being a decent geeky movie as well. Because at that time, a lot of people had remembered Lost in Space because it had been rerun on Channel 4 about 4 or 5 times on the bounce. So I was quite pleased to see that film there. It's not the best sci-fi film in the world from what I remember, but it's a lot of fun. And I probably would be tempted. I might be tempted to get that again. But Creepshow 2, again, this is something that I rented several times when it originally came out. This maybe 86, 87, around that time.
Yeah. Oh, Dan, just one thing I had to say about Lost in Space. A lot of people got miffed at this, not at Arrow, but at Scream Factory, because of a lazy ass release they put out last year that I made the mistake of getting. Because all we had for Lost in Space was a Blu-ray back from the dawn of Blu-ray, and it was terrible. So last year, Scream Factory, which Crap Factory, Scam Factory, whatever you want to call them. I'm very selective now with Scream Factory. We will not be celebrating them on this channel, unless Dan decides to, because it's his channel. But no, so last year's Scream Factory, now it's Lost in Space Collector's Edition on Blu-ray. So at the time it came out, and I'm dumb, I did buy it. The transfer was meh at best. I would be surprised if it was the same from the original. But so Scream Factory put it out, and everybody's like, why did you not put this out on 4K, you lazy bastards? Everything else is 4K. For some unknown reason, you're putting this out on Blu-ray, but charging 4K prices for it. And so the speculation was, I don't know, maybe there is an issue. Maybe they can't be transferred to 4K. No, here we are a year later, and Arrow Video puts it out on 4K. And which I will be getting because I like this movie and I really love that cover. But Scream Factory didn't even give it any new artwork. It was like the artwork that came with it originally, because they don't do artwork anymore unless you want to pay an extra $50 for a slipcover. Sorry, I'm gonna tone down my rant. But yeah, no. So Scream Factory sucks. Sorry guys, but why did you put this out on Blu-ray? Why? And given the time that it takes to put these out, you must have known by this point that Arrow had acquired the rights, and you just
they probably did. Yeah, why? Make a fast book, I would say. Rabbi, you must be a fan of the Creepshow movies. I bet you rented those over and over again as well.
They weren't like my favorite things from the time. It's got that very nice late 80s feel. Yeah, I know it just feels like this and a copy of Razzle. Right.
There is something trashy and seedy about them, isn't there?
Yes, there is. It's quite a lovely in a wonderful way.
Creepshow.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun horror, as I recall.
That's awesome. As I remember them from the VHS rental days, Gary.
Yes. You know? When you be able to rent them from like the deli.
Yes, it's a good variety. I'm looking. I'll almost certainly pick up the Lost in Space one, and I'm tempted. If I can get Creepshow 1, I bet they've already released that, though, haven't they? It's probably sold out. If I can get Creepshow 1, I'd like Creepshow 2 as well.
Oh, Creepshow 1. Actually, yeah, I think I sent you links for that one. Creepshow 1 was released by Scam Factory. Scream Factory. A couple of years ago. I didn't get. I may get it, but I'm going to get it on sale because they actually back when they about 5 years ago, and they still about 6 years ago, and they still gave a shit. They actually put out Creepshow on and this was Scream Factory, a really nice hard box set. The packaging for the 4K was lazy because everything they do now is lazy. But I want to see it in 4K. But yeah, I do believe in Region 2. You did get. They have put. Arrow has the rights for the first 2 Creep shows, and if you want a good laugh, Creep Show 3 is it's just a work of genius. I don't know if anybody's going to get that joke. If you haven't, it's one of the worst films ever made.
Yeah, it's trashier than trash as I remember it. Yeah. The list completes with these 3 titles: The Good, The Bad, and The Weird. That looks like another one that you were talking, like it forms some sort of line connected with, I don't know, maybe they're foreign language films or something like that. That's how that one looks to me. Never heard of the film. I've never heard of The Woods or Hellbender either. Is it Hellbender? So yeah, these are all new to me, but the covers are very, very evocative. Any of these mean anything to you, Gary?
No, I've never heard of any of the 3. I mean, I can't tell if that first one's an actual Western or if it's like a Western horror or whatever. You know, with me with horror,
it's Mad Max, isn't it?
I mean, with me with horror, I'm not a huge horror film fan, but I do like a lot of the old like horror comics, you know, like the House of Mystery and House of Sea, all the DC and Gold Key, the horror comics and stuff. I'm a big fan of those. Yeah. So my horror indulgence usually comes if I can like read one of the old like comics.
Yeah. Considering that this is, as I say, this is pretty new to me. I've been aware of the label, but I don't think I'd been aware of quite how many titles they put out, how much hard work went into them, how much technical expertise seems to go into them as well, or the community that seems to exist around these bespoke labels. You know, you've been telling me for quite a long time, Chris. I'm finally listening, and so obviously it's a relief to know as well that you think, okay, they haven't put out like 6 films that I want either. It's just 1 or 2. It's not going to break the bank. But I don't know. I just found the whole marketing of this, I just thought it was excellent and made me feel. Yeah, made me feel like I was awaiting a real event, and it's not often you feel like that now, following stuff on social media, because it's so bloody impersonal.
It's and with the other ones, the Good, the Bad, and the Weird. It's like a Western that I haven't watched. The Woods, another one that's a bit frustrating. That's from 2006, only available in Region 1 on a now out of print Blu-ray from E1 Entertainment, which I'm assuming they're holding on to the rights. So another one, obviously, they couldn't get the rights for. Hellbender is another relatively recent film. 2021. Because Arrow will also do this. They kind of have a couple different streams. They've got like their fancy releases. Horror, which is where they started. They do a lot of classic stuff. They've got their Japanese stuff. But they also do a lot of first releases, which a lot of these are low budget horror movies. I'll look at them. I'll probably get Hellbender. It looks somewhat interesting. I looked at the trailer. At Deadstream, I'm eventually going to get the release that we have. I'm probably going to get Creepshow 2. I'm going to get Lost in Space and be very mad at Scream Factory and ask for my money back. And I'm probably going to pre-order Proof of the Man. Now, whether or not I actually will get all of them, sort of the way I think I explained this last week, that because I live in Canada and everybody here can't afford to breathe anymore. I have a very specific budget for physical media purchases now, which is much lower than it used to be. So I pre-order a whole bunch of stuff. Then I look, okay, what's coming out this week? What's my budget? What do I want? What can I afford? And then I cancel everything that I don't want. So it's like the top releases. So at this point, that I will probably get the Creepshow 2 set, which looks very much like the standard Blu-ray set, which I missed out on when it came out. I got the standard release. So I've always been kind of depressed that I missed out on the fancy packaging and they brought it back. So I'll get that, and I will probably get Lost in Space. The other ones, which it's kind of 50-50 as to whether I'll get them now or just get them when they go on sale. But yes, Dan, that's the original artwork, and that's basically the artwork that they used for the Lazy as Hell Scream Factory release. And Scream Factory used to do great. And the other thing I have to say about Arrow is generally their extras are awesome. Usually they acquire everything, and because the individual in charge of curation used to work for Scream Factory. He's able to get all the Scream Factory releases plus the new stuff. So, usually you'll have multiple commentaries, whereas Scream Factory will put out a collector's edition. And in the case of, say, something like Time Cop, they're so lazy they don't even give you the trailer because they suck. Or it's like, oh, get our release, special collector's edition with a new documentary talking to the third assistant hairdresser about their career.
Well, we'll be following up on those releases over the months if all goes according to plan. I think if they keep putting out stuff that I want, certainly what I've done is I've put the social media now for Arrow as a favorite, so hopefully I'll get it in so I'll get to see those posts before everything else, Gary. So yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that. For once, a pleasurable experience on social media amidst all the crap and the waffle and all the contentiousness and all of the I suppose the regular rounds of condolences that we have when the great and the good from pop culture shuffle off. That obviously this is part of life. It happens most weeks, doesn't it? Somebody who's made some big contribution to movies or TV or music or any of the things that we're into shuffles off, and there are people coming to the media, get quoted in magazines or just on their social media profiles themselves and exclaim how much they're going to miss a certain person, or to remind us of some of the person who's passed away's sort of greatest hits and contributions. There's somebody who passed away in the last 24 hours, I believe. And to my shame, Gary, I'd never heard of this gentleman, but it turns out I've heard a lot of his work.
Mm-hmm,
do you want to tell us who this gentleman was and why we all know him, even if we don't know him?
Chances are, if you're walking along, taking a walk, and a TV theme song pops into your head and you start humming it, chances are it might be one of this gentleman's creations. Lalo Schifrin, who is responsible for some of the best known film and TV scores from the 60s on forward. Multiple Grammy Award winner, nominated for Oscars, Emmys, passed away. And if you're walking along and you start humming the Mission Impossible theme in your head, you can thank Mr. Schifrin. The man from U.N.C.L.E., like dun 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 dun, that was him. Mannix, which is one of the great instrumental
I don't think I know this
pieces.
One.
If you hear it, there's a gorgeous like piano solo kind of in the middle of it, but it's it goes like dun 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 dun. It's very kind of jazzy, but it worked for the show, and just as a piece of music, it's great. You mentioned earlier Planet of the Apes, Dan, the short-lived Planet of the Apes series, which I loved. He did the theme song from that. Music that was very in tune with the musical motifs from the films. And one of my favorites, he did the first, and I know that this ran in the UK. He did the music for the first season of Starsky and Hutch, which was more of a hard driving theme that they replaced with the like twangy disco music in subsequent seasons. but that first season theme is one of his great pieces, very hard, very driving. They should never have replaced it. And he's done films from the 60s through the early aughts, a lot of the Eastwood stuff like Dirty Harry, Magnum Force, a lot of those. He's done genre stuff, like he did the music for the Amityville Horror.
That was him?
Yeah, that was him.
That is one of my favorite scores of all time.
Yep. And he did the sequel too, which I'm not sure, Chris, you're probably the only person that's seen the sequel. Amityville too. But I mean, he did music like, for popular stuff like Rush Hour and the sequels, that kind of stuff. And like I said, nominated all over the place for, Academy Awards, like for Cool Hand Luke. Again, Amityville Horror nominated for Best Original Score. A lot of Emmys for the Mission Impossible music. Grammys for like Man from U.N.C.L.E. So this is, like I said, it's if you're walking along and you get like an earworm of TV themes, it's highly likely that it's one of his creations. So an interesting genre thing, Dan and Chris, is that he did the initial score for The Exorcist, but Friedkin didn't like it, and he wrote music, I guess, for the first trailer, apparently, which was too scary for audiences. I don't know why they would have thought that was a problem, but they told him to tone it down, make it softer. Yeah. We want a softer Exorcist music, but I guess then they went with somebody else for that film. So
the final one.
He could do anything from westerns to thrillers to horror to comedies.
Apparently, he's only the third person in the history of the sort of the motion picture arts to receive an honorary Oscar. He was like the third person, something like that. Because there wasn't honorary Oscars, was there, for years and years and years, and he was one of the earliest ones.
But I think that although he's done like decades worth of stuff, I think for me personally, it's the Mission Impossible theme that's just immortal. I mean, he'll be immortal for that alone.
Not just for the TV series, of course.
He wrote a Limp Bizkit song too, because they used his score for one of their rap songs. Well, I think it was Mission Impossible 2. Whenever I hear the dun, that I'd always think of like the heavy Limp Bizkit thing.
Yeah,
I need to look at the liner notes. Hopefully, they gave him credit.
He did the music for Enter the Dragon, another iconic 70s film.
So it sounds like he would give anything a go, really, and his music has certainly stood the test of time as regards not just being earworms, being pop culture sort of markers, but being ripe as well for reinvention. They can be re-recorded, rearranged. Yeah.
Well, I know that I'd heard the name before, but I know at some point I looked up who did the absolutely amazing score to the Amityville Horror, and I'm like, I don't know who this is, an unknown. I don't care. This is awesome. But yeah, this is damn. So this guy wrote like everything.
Basically, yes. It does seem that way. So to my shame, I'd never heard of is it pronounced Lalo Schifrin? Lalo Schifrin.
It could be Lalo. I'm not really sure. But Dan, you know what? I think I don't think he'd mind you like not remembering his name as long as you remember the creations. Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Let's go and check out what people have got to say in the live chat there across YouTube and Rumble about all of this and all of that, all the various bits of nonsense that we've come out with so far.
I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. With Scotch's lifetime guarantee. Take what you want both night and day. Then re-record, not fade away. Re-record, not fade away.
If it's Scotch, it's guaranteed for life.
Yes, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Spacebook. Now, if I'd been able to get an action figure of that little dude from way back in the 80s, Rabbi, I definitely would have had one. Thank you everybody for your company so far. Neville was in earlier on right away, as was Darren M in the live chat, both with greetings and felicitations. I note, Gary, there's you as well, and lots of stuff, lots of hellos. We've got James Burns in the live chat too. And we have, Soggy Biscuit, says Michael Hallett. Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself, Michael. God. What else is here? Rose Kirby's in as well. Hello, blessings. Good morning, afternoon, and evening to all. Hello. Rose sounds like she's on stage at Glastonbury there, and many people are, as it turns out. Anthony Parkinson agrees with you, Chris, that Dark City is a masterpiece.
Damn right. And we didn't talk about the cinematography, but it is one of the most beautiful films you will ever see.
But didn't they shoot it like on a very like inside set?
Yeah. It was all inside. Well, you could except for no, I'm not going to give spoilers. But there was.
It's a 30-year-old movie.
The sets are the sets where the scenes where things are transforming.
That's awesome.
Might be so. It might be the coolest scenes in the history of cinema.
That's a wonderful idea as well.
I cannot say this enough. If you have never seen Dark City, you don't need to go out and buy the very expensive Arrow set. I don't know if it's streaming, but even if you want to get the DVD, which I checked, apparently it's still available at the Snapper case for some reason. But even if you want to, I cannot recommend this movie enough. Just visually, you could take any frame from this movie and put it on your wall. Like it is.
Yeah, stunning. Yeah. It's
beautiful.
Peter Sutherland's in it, and he's great. It asks you to have really interesting questions of self. Yep. Like, what are you? Your environment or your life situation? Or who are you really?
It's like a mystery box that doesn't suck.
I loved it.
And it's kind of funny because when Kiefer Sutherland started doing 24, I was so used to hearing him from Dark City. For the first probably 2 seasons, every time I heard Jack Bauer, I was thinking of Dark City.
People have picked up on the challenge to name their favorite Monkey movies. And Monkey Bones says Ben Casey. So we'll get that list together and we'll do an all Simeon edition.
That'll be an Arrow. That'll be an Arrow release at some point.
Yeah.
You never know. Michael Hallett asks, have the panel watched Iron Shart yet? Do you really think? Do we look like the kind of people who are going to watch the latest Marvel Cinematic Universe disaster? Of course not. I'm not going to waste my time watching that.
I haven't asked Dan. It has come up. Bulls Trek, are you going to do weekly recaps of that? I'm not going to swear on Dan's channel. So I'll just say, hell no. No.
Of the 4 of us, I think Rabbi is probably the most likely to see that.
No, even I can do it.
Okay.
Michael insists. Yeah, you really must, just for the WTF moments. Life's too short, Michael. Honestly, all this culture war bullshit. Life's too short, mate. Go and watch something you enjoy.
I'd rather think of my answer.
Watch there's some YouTube. Some videos are worth it. Don't watch the episode, but there's some great YouTubers out there that actually do like amazing recaps of these. But no, I spent 8 weekends in absolute hell. I lost 8 weeks where I had no fun, because I had to review something that was terrible that I will not mention by name. But
I'd rather watch Section 31 again than watch Ironheart.
So Sidney Rough Diamond recommends Deadstream. That was one of the Arrow movies. He describes it as a spiritual successor to the Evil Dead films, way better than Evil Dead Rise. Maybe I should take a look at that. I don't think I'll pre-order that, but I might see if it's kicking around on stream.
See, the problem for me, Dan, is because neither Arrow, the upcoming Arrow or Shudder have Canadian distribution. The only way I can get it is to import it through Amazon.com, which is very expensive because not only do I have to pay the exchange rate on my completely tanked crap Canadian dollar, but it's also like $12 shipping. So I'm very selective of what I get from the US. Say what, Rabbi?
Don't they add tariffs on you if it's coming from America? Aren't you in a tariff war?
Here's this summarized Canada. Well, yes, we're run by an idiot, but you know that you guys dealt with that idiot. Yes, one of the latest tariff and the one that made Trump walk away technically has to do with entertainment. The digital rights tax. What they want to do is tax streaming services and everything else to pay for crap Canadian content that nobody watches. I'll just give you an example. There's the CBC, the Canadian bastard.
I was going to say, sounds right.
There's actually a channel in a language that is not English. I'm not even allowed to talk about this group because that's how twisted we are. So just say there's a group that they made a channel for, which we're paying for. Full production crew, full reporters. You know what their average viewership is? About 100 people per day.
Wow.
We're paying for that. They want to tax, so this would be Netflix, Crave, which I don't have anymore. It's the crap Canadian like every streaming service, Paramount Plus.
They're going to do it. They're totally going to do it.
Yeah, and they're going to make Netflix and Prime or Amazon, Paramount, HBO, whatever, pay a basically fine to fund Canadian woke garbage content that nobody wants to watch, and the prices for streaming services in Canada are already the highest in the world, and since our dollar has gone to the tank, it's even worse. So they're going to pass this crap on to the consumer. So rather than paying $26 for your monthly Netflix,
wow, that's a lot.
That's the premium. You're going to be paying like 30, or you're going to be, instead of like, I think it's like 10 now, you'd be paying for like 15 for Amazon with ads. And this, at some point, we have to do a show about how bad this Canadian content is. It is awful. Like, not putting aside the wokeness and all that crap, which it's unreal. It's almost a satire. The quality is so bad, it's unreal. Just go get your VPN. Just look at the CBC streaming service. Look at any of their originals. They are horrific. Sorry, who got me on this rant?
Well, we will have to do one of our sort of general rants about the state of the world at some point in the near future, won't we? People have been comparing their favourite music, the work of Lalo Schifrin there, who's passed away at the age of 93. Didn't he do Dirty Harry? Asks Peter Harrington.
He did.
Enter the Dragon, says Sir Sydney. And lots of people naming their favourites, including Stephen Braddock. Love the Mannix theme. But then there's the Encore, Mission Impossible, and movies like Sudden Impact and the Dirty Harry film. So many shows.
He did the Eagles Landed. That might be a movie you've seen, Dan. Eagles Landed.
Yeah, I've got
that.
He
did that one.
In the soundtrack, now you say it.
He did that one.
And Neville, no, I don't mean the French types.
More love for Dark City here in the live chat too from Peter Harrington and several people.
Definitely, Alex Perez, isn't it? It's definitely his best movie.
And Rose Kirby asks, will the Spacebook Live be reviewing any new films in the next couple of weeks? Not in the next couple of weeks, but over the summer. There's a few things that are coming out, but in particularly, of course, Superman.
Yes.
Then, there will be reviews and coverage of several key movies to some degree or another. So stay tuned as this show and this channel expands as well. Please head over to the Spacebook channel, like the video. It helps a lot more than you think. Subscribe to that channel too, and smash the hyperspace button there to subscribe as well, so you get all the notifications about whatever we're doing and whenever we're doing it. That's how it works. Mark Carney will save you. PMSL says Michael. Who's Mark Carney? Oh, he's politics again, isn't
he's our PM. I am not a fan of him. Let's just that's the summary.
He makes England and Keir Starmer not look as awful.
It's Peter Harrington. You have it. It's called the BBC. No, Peter. The difference between Canada and the BBC. It's 4 comments up if you're looking for it, Dan. The difference between the BBC and the CBC is the BBC has created world-class entertainment. The CBC has created nothing. Well, no, they've created a lot, but it's awful. They're also known as the network that bungled Doctor Who, because you remember during seasons 1 to 3 of Doctor Who, it said with the cooperation and the involvement of the Canadian broadcast. Yeah.
Right.
Briefly, this is how stupid they are, because we pay them with their taxes, so they don't have to worry. So when they got season 1, they decided the brilliant idea was to air it like 10 days later than it did in the UK for no reason whatsoever. Then season 2, they aired it a little bit later. Then in season 3, they aired it 6 months after it aired in the UK, which at that point, yes, they irritated the BBC. The BBC took their rights away, and they haven't been able to touch it since.
Bring back the visionaries of telly in times past. Bring back the statesmen, the real politicians that we used to get all over the world, the dads that were always in the biggest rooms in the world, who could sort all these arseholes out from the start. And, of course, bring back the heroes too. I think we're getting somewhere. We could be getting somewhere with the heroes. Maybe in fits and starts. They do seem to be on the way, don't they? But we'll just hang loose and see who else turns up. Thank you so much for all those comments in the live chat. Yeah, he's a hero and he's on the way. as well. Hopefully, the next, I think we've got a couple of weeks to wait for that to appear. Let us know how much you're looking forward to Superman or not there in the comments section as well. Of course, where next? Who next? Some of this.
Dad, that man's eating a fork. Now he's eating a plate. Now he's going to have 3 shredded wheat.
Now, don't tell stories.
No, 2's quite enough for me, thank you.
With 100% whole wheat nourishment packed into shredded wheat, who can eat more than 2?
Yes, before we hit our main feature. My word, we're going for 50-odd minutes. Still haven't talked about Bond yet. But before we get there, whilst we're bashing the Canadian government there, Chris, I thought it'd be a nice way to lean very nicely into this week's PSA.
Hello, everyone. How are we doing? Who's excited?
Me, sir.
Okay. So today, our topic is backyard patio parties. So it's Tiffany. Tiffany's 29th birthday. What could go wrong? What kind of lesson is Tiffany going to learn this week? It's about, thinking about potential consequences. And so this is what this is about. This is about consequences and how to ruin your birthday party. So,
God.
So, Dan, roll it.
Oh.
Happy birthday, sweetie.
Oh, thank you so much.
I was baking all day.
Oh, I'm sure you were.
Go ahead.
Nice cake.
Where is your emergency? On 124 Oak Street. It's been a terrible accident. I think she's breathing.
So the lesson that we learned this week, so Tiffany learned a very important lesson. Don't stand in front of a place where a car could potentially plow you over. It's a bad day for Tiffany.
Backs.
So this
she makes sure that she makes sure, Chris, that she backs into exactly the right position she needs to get the mark.
So sadly, Peter, yes, you were right. So Peter Harrington guessed it right. So although what I for next week, what I have, Dan, is we're going to lighten things up, and next week's is going to be about etiquette.
Well, yeah, it can't be much darker than that.
Oh, they do. No, they do.
Do we have any, Chris? Do we have any updates on the fry cook that was burned last week? Are there any updates on that guy?
Well, he died because his coworker ran away screaming in the commercial.
Okay.
Oh, right, I do remember that. I like the ones of the women being mercifully beaten in public.
People are
that's
stunned.
Alberta.
People are stunned and staggered as unsurprisingly stunned and staggered by what they've just seen. This is the glorious world of international PSAs. Right. Tiffany should have brought reinforced steel fences, suggests PD Rich. It's all right to be wise after the fact, isn't it, Gary?
Well, these PSAs are Canada's best imports, so or export, I should say. So yeah, there you go.
We do like steering people. I think these started like a year ago in just a random conversation. I think we're talking about PSAs, and then I sent Dan right in the middle of the stream and forced him to edit in the original Fry one, and nobody believed me. I'm like, no, this is normal. This is what happens in Canada. So aside from like a break, we were doing 8 weeks in hell, we've been doing one of these a week for how long? Almost a year now, Dan.
The supply is not running low. At all.
I've got stuff bookmarked.
Trump needs to insist that they make more of these.
Yes. I just love how Trump is the daddy of the world now. Right, this is awesome.
he made my PM go sit on the naughty stoop. So yeah,
the best. I mean, we're talking.
There you go.
This
there
is
you go.
The best F-bomb of all time. I can't believe I'm living in this reality.
See, actually, Rabbi. Well, and you were right in the middle of this. Could you see any other world leader ending it that quickly?
Oh no!
And you know exactly what happened because it's Trump. Okay, Israel, Iran. Okay, it's like a parent talking to two.
No, okay. Yeah, honestly, it was like this. Trump really stuck his neck out to for America to bomb the nuclear sites.
Yeah,
and then they was like, okay, Israel's enough now. You reached your objective, which they had. They gave them a 12-hour window to start a truce, and Israel's like, oh, we got to use this 12 hours to bomb as much as humanly possible, which is a very Israeli thing to do, right? And then they started another bombing run after the truce had started when one missile came over. And Trump was like, no, on truce, you can turn those planes around.
That was definitely the best F-bomb probably I've heard this year. We do try our best here at the Spacebook Live to deliver our fair share of F-bombs whenever and however we can here on the live stream show. So yes, regular editions of the show picking up now, and we're going to cover the week in geek with panels of guests and friends coming in too. Who knows what we'll be covering across movies and TV and comics and physical media and right across all of the genres that all of us are interested in. And now and again we do drift into real world events as well, because we're a bunch of middle-aged guys, and that tends to be what we talk about when we get together, as well as maintenance on our toilets and whatever else may come up, right? Yep. So it's all fair game here at the Spacebook Live. We don't expect you to like all of it, but we do aim very much squarely to please.
Ours, as you know, is not a perfect world. May I? That's why it's so refreshing when something really perfect comes along. Like Diet Coke. Tastes great straight or on the rocks. Yet it's just 1 calorie. That's why Diet Coke is the perfect soft drink. For an imperfect world.
Just for the taste of it. Diet Coke.
Yeah, talk about iconic stings earlier on, weren't we? And this is probably the most iconic of them all. Dang, 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 all that kind of stuff. You're doing it, aren't you? You're doing it. Yes. So James Bond. James Bond is on my mind most weeks. I don't mind telling you, despite the fact, and it probably has been since I was about 10 or 11. We talked about it last week because we were covering the release of the Sean Connery movies, weren't we? On 4K, finally. That choice of the deluxe pack, the big metal box thing that Gary's got, or this sort of slimline edition there. So they're on their way to 4K. But when is he on his way back? That line of movies that started in 1962, running all the way until, when was the last one? Like 3 years ago, it finally made it to the cinemas. I don't know. It seems to have been an eternity since the last Bond film, and even since we'd heard anything really. They promised that James Bond will return, and then earlier this year we got that announcement, didn't we? That the rights had sort of, kind of, changed hands. A new co-production deal between Eon, the Broccolis that have always made the Bond films, and the fledgling Amazon MGM Studios setup. So that took a lot of us by surprise. It also took a lot of getting used to, but it is funny how really quickly the things that shock us about any of these big franchises, it's not long before we're sort of moving on and we want to know what's next, don't we? The next piece of information. And that came this week, just a couple of days ago. They revealed finally the identity of the director who's going to kickstart this new era of Bond movies over at Amazon MGM. You all know who it is by now. He was on the shortlist, a name that a lot of us are talking about, Denis Villeneuve. I am sure that's how you pronounce it, who's a Canadian French director. Go on, Chris. Can you correct me? How is it pronounced?
Denis Villeneuve.
Oh, it's Denise then. So I did get
Denis,
it completely wrong.
Denis Villeneuve. I can't. My French accent is off. I can't pronounce it.
You sound
today,
like
and I don't know
Clouseau,
why.
Chris.
Denis Villeneuve. Voilà. Il est français. Mais mon français, j'ai besoin un peu de travail, mais je suis canadien et je dois parler le français. Alors, c'est Denis Villeneuve.
Wow. Obviously, the French bit, that's a bit of cause for concern, isn't it? But aside from that, this is pretty good news, I think. He's a self-proclaimed Bond, a diehard Bond
and Canadian,
fan.
French Canadian.
56 years of age as well.
He's
Chris,
the right age,
around
isn't he? He knows what good Bond is.
So. Yeah, and they were very, very proud to announce this. And so his name has been everywhere, his face absolutely everywhere as well for the people who hadn't heard of him, or maybe you don't know if you've seen one of his films or not. He's a big name. He's probably alongside Christopher Nolan, I'd say, Gary. He's probably one of the most important filmmakers of the modern age. In fact, I'd say even you could say that Steven Spielberg is the most significant director of certainly the last 50 years. Probably the most. It's him and Hitchcock, who are the most significant filmmakers, directors of all time. That's accepted.
Yep.
As regards here and now, I think there are two people who seem to sort of blend a kind of almost auteur sensibility with a populist touch. I'd say it's Christopher Nolan and it's Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was handed the sequel to Blade Runner, which probably not a lot of people wanted to touch, and he took that on. And
I think.
Yeah, and with the Dune, I mean, that's
again.
I mean, this guy's pedigree is amazing. There's another movie of his I haven't seen, but I want to now, called Arrival. So I can't speak to that one.
That's great.
The second one on the list, Polytechnique, is the one that I highly recommend.
I've seen it.
So this is quite a filmography over the last decade and a half, I think. As you say, I mean, nobody thought that anyone could sequel Blade Runner. He did, and people don't hate it, which is about the best you can hope for in this day and age.
Yeah.
Nobody thought anybody could make films of the Dune books. He did it, and both of them have been pretty damn successful. Even the people who like the books are largely pleased with them, which I didn't see that happening in a million years, Rabbi. I mean, to me, this seems like, I wouldn't even call it a safe pair of hands or a sensible choice. I think it's an exciting choice. I think it's a formidable choice. And
look, his work is very
despite the fact that I personally don't count myself as a huge fan, I'm just relieved to see somebody who's bankable and reliable, and more to the point, somebody who seems very sure of themselves in everything that they make. I mean, what's your take?
It's look, he's a solid storyteller. With you can tell his work. He's got personal style. I hope he lightens up a bit with this. Like the problem with this movie is they're a bit dour, generally speaking, and I hope he tones that. That was the biggest problem it has. But they're also
Sam Mendes did that with Bond already, didn't he? We've already seen Sam Mendes do that. We don't really want to see that again.
Well, he's definitely the Sam Mendes mold, isn't he? He's the other Sam Mendes. It's gonna look beautiful. But look, I mean, we really won't know what they're doing until we see the casting as Bond.
Do we know who's writing it?
Oh, I don't know. I think that in many respects, although people want to know as soon as possible who's going to be Bond, that the best indicator actually of the kind of film that we're going to get, which in my opinion is the most important part, is who is going to be directing it, which of course we now know, and who's going to be writing it. I imagine, as I understand it, Villeneuve does. He will have, if not final say over the casting, he will have enormous sway in that, and is involved in the writing process, and is going to be a producer as well. Yeah. So it's about as hands-on as you could possibly.
Zendaya is going to be the next Bond girl.
I don't dislike that girl. I mean,
I if that happens, I jump.
Well, you know, he's executive producer.
If it's a Tom Holland Bond, then I really can't.
No, he's too
well.
young.
I mean,
we'll come to that in a little while.
He's executive producing this, and I was reading his quote that he put out, And it sounds like, if you read between the lines, that he's going to have a hand in subsequent ones, maybe as an executive producer.
Like he's developing the look.
So I mean, and one of the exciting things about this for me is that it tells me that Amazon, I mean, hopefully is bound and determined to do this right. They're not treating this as just product. They're treating this as a prestige franchise, and they want to do it right, because I think they know they've got to get the first one note perfect if they want people to have confidence in what they're going to do.
This isn't a director. This isn't a creative who's become sort of captivated by the notions of streaming platforms. He's been quite kind of dismissive of them in the past. He talks a lot about cinema and about the language of film, the storytelling craft, and the event of going to the cinema, Rabbi, with members of your family. He's given this quote here, Rabbi. He said, some of my earliest movie-going memories are connected to 007. I grew up watching James Bond films with my father ever since Dr. No with Sean Connery. I'm a die-hard Bond fan. To me, he's sacred territory. This is like music to every Bond fan's ears, isn't it? I intend to honor the tradition and open the path for many new missions to come. So whilst I wouldn't describe this as a pilot movie, because the odds are they're going to make more, but this sounds like very much somebody laying creative foundations. He acknowledges this is a massive responsibility, but also incredibly exciting for me and a huge honor.
He's saying everything right. The trouble is, I've heard people say everything right and then produce, Ahsoka. He's like that truly, they said the right thing and then they produced the Acolyte. So I don't know. It's just got to match what he's saying. I hope it's true. But he's from Hollywood, and I tell you
what the difference is for me. This is the difference for me, Rabbi and Chris. We read a lot of these sound bites now, which I also have developed. Even me, and I'm quite an optimistic person, I've developed a cynicism to these sort of quotes. But this is the first one that I think I've read out. I've read and then read out in months, if not years, where it actually sounds like a genuine person speaking. This wasn't written for him, and he signed it at the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, it's and see if I can actually get it right this time. Denis Villeneuve. My French is just awful today. But no, he's one of these directors that I knew actually before he became famous. I don't know, Dan, if you can pull up all the picture of all the movies he's done. But a lot of us around here, there's a movie that he did in 2009, the second one on that list, Polytechnique, which actually a lot of people in Canada know it. I have it on Blu-ray. It is about as independent as you get for a film. It was shot in black and white. It also, it might be tied as possibly the most depressing thing I've ever watched. But what this movie is, in 1989, there was a school shooting at the University of Montreal, called Polytechnique. Everybody in Canada knows it, but I don't know how well it's known worldwide, but it was regarded as one of the first mass modern day school shootings. So this movie came out 20 years after the event. So basically like shot on the cheap, just, like black and white. And basically what it does is recreates that, but the characters' names are changed, some events are changed, the school is changed. But in terms of like just capturing the just absolute horror, like this is not an easy watch. I will say this will be one of the most difficult movies you will ever watch. But I think I can also safely say it may be one of the best films you will ever watch because of just how gritty and how realistic and how absolutely horrifying it is. So this is why, if you're in Canada and you've seen this, and originally I saw it on
it sounds
TV
like a brave
after it came out,
a brave film to direct, to be part of at any time in anybody's career, Chris. I mean, I'm looking at these films here. There's 10 movies here. To my shame, I've seen 1, 2. I've only seen 3 of them, so I'm going to try and watch all of these. I've seen Sicario. I've seen Sicario, I've seen Prisoners, and I've seen Dune Part 1. Those are the only ones. All of the others, even Blade. Obviously, I know what
you
Blade
didn't see
Runner
Blade
is.
Runner?
No, I haven't seen
Really?
the first one in years and years and years. So
Oh,
no, I'm not. I know I've said this before. I'm not a Blade Runner guy, but I'm going to go and I'm going to watch all of these, not necessarily in the order that they were made, to get a feel of it, because it's said here that Villeneuve has beaten out the other directors: Paul King, Jonathan Nolan, Edward Berger. Jonathan Nolan was the guy behind the Westworld series, wasn't he? So Jonathan Nolan, Edward Berger, Paul King, and Edgar Wright as well. I thought, God, imagine an Edgar Wright Bond movie.
Edgar Wright would be crazy.
That would be
crazy.
I'd like to see
those
that.
are the guys that he's beaten to the gig. What, as somebody by my own admission who's seen only a very small amount of his output, what do you guys think of them? The markers of Villeneuve's work, where you look at one of his films, you know it's him, and how could that translate to the Bond-verse?
Here's what he needs to do and actually Arrival is another one I recommend if you haven't seen it, and it actually has one of my favorite twists of all time as well. But also, every one of these movies is very dark and very artistic. At least there's a couple of them. I haven't seen Enemy, and I haven't seen August 32nd on Earth, but I've seen all the other. Actually, I own all the other ones. But here's the one concern, although I think he can overcome this, because I think visually he might be the best director out there. Visually, maybe Christopher Nolan is second, but his movies, he's one of these directors where, like I was saying earlier, you can take any frame and put it on your wall. The problem is I think you need to get somebody else to write this, because you need to bring back the joy to Bond, because Daniel Craig turned into a depressing mess near the end. I think you need to go back to, if not Sean Connery, just go back to sort of early Pierce Brosnan. It needs to have that vibe to it.
I agree with you.
Fun.
In the very few clips I've been able to find they're on mainstream sources as well of this director talking about Bond, there is a glee. He's beaming from ear to ear. This is before he was given the job. He's beaming from ear to ear when he talks about it. You can see the glee, the childlike glee on his face when he talks, when he just thinks about Bond. So whilst none of us have got a crystal ball, and we can only sort of guess, can't we, Gary, about what may make its way through to the screen. I'd like to think that somewhere in that mix, if he watched them when he was a child, he wouldn't have been looking at them in any kind of necessarily artistic way. So hopefully some of that has made its way through to adulthood. I mean, I'm assured that another thing that people talk about all his movies is that he builds characters very, very well. He works extensively, intensively with the writers, very much part of the writing process. That excites me as well, because I think I love the Daniel Craig movies, but I also love the Sean Connery films. I love most of the Bond films, but the thing that I like about both those sets of films is that a great many of them, I think a lot of the characters are more carefully sort of built, and they've got more facets to them.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, clearly he has the technical directing chops, so I don't think anybody's in doubt on that. I would hope, though, that, using the word Rabbi used earlier on, I just hope, don't make it dour, don't make it self-important. I would say you've loved it since you were a kid, but it's not like some, religious icon that's untouchable that you have to treat as sacred. I mean, I would say keep it escapist, keep it fun, escapist entertainment, like the best of the franchise has been.
Exactly.
Find the right balance of humor and fun and thrills and excitement. Don't have gawking pigeons or Tarzan yells. Please don't do that. But have the right, make it fun again. Make it even the Dalton. I loved the two Dalton movies. I would say, like, go Dalton, but with a little bit more fun and charm to it. I think would be a good kind of mix.
I would say go
as if it was played by Brosnan.
Full Brosnan for me, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go.
Well, full early Brosnan.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, Goldeneye, and then he progressively went downhill after that.
God,
I think visually, one thing that's important is like he does make visual masterpieces, like the Dune movies and Blade Runner 2049. He can't do that here. Bond is not something that I guess we'll call visual. It's not like a Dark City would be another example. It's not something that's a visual masterpiece film.
Right.
It has to look pretty. I say visually make it look like a rival. Just make it look normal.
Rabbi, what was that? Sorry,
I think Skyfall looked beautiful. Skyfall was just like it was. I think probably one of the best looking Bond movies I've ever seen, and it was very, very, very. I mean, there's that scene with the blue light where he's fighting those assassins. Where was it? Singapore somewhere, right? The whole thing looked beautiful. Was stunning. And I think I think we're going to get something here. The good news about this is that I think Amazon have learned you can't just put a James Bond logo on something, right? They've seen Disney fail with that over and over and over again, and like, I'm having a big resurgence of Star Wars love right now, and I was watching a bit of the Ahsoka show because it had like the Clone Wars in it in live action. Oh, I'll check that out. Anyway, you just fast forward all through the Disney crap. Right, like the stunning and brave chick, stunning and brave chick, stunning and brave chick. Oh, there. Okay, fine. We're back to good stuff again. Right? They've learned they can't do that anymore, which is really good news. Right? I think it's got. I think they've realized that franchises have to be treated as themselves. So
my gut tells me, based on that, I keep going back to that quote. My gut tells me that because his lifelong love of the franchise started when he saw these movies with his dad, so that sticks with you.
Yeah.
And the fact that he started with the Connery ones, that sticks with you. And the things that started your love for it, and if it's a special memory like you went with your dad to the Sean Connery ones, that tells me that I think that's going to be the template for what he makes, because that sounds to me like what's closest to his heart about this franchise is growing up with his dad watching those early Bond movies. So that's, I think, what we're probably going to get something close to.
I just hope we get that kind of powerful swagger, which I think Sean Connery really, and also Pierce Brosnan, he had that very powerful masculine swagger. Right, and that's something that Bond really needs. I mean, I think all of them had it.
Well, let me ask all you guys about this. Based on that, what are the odds you think this actually, Dan, you've mentioned this before, what do you think the odds are that this might be a period piece?
Oh, I hope so.
I hope so. I've been saying that, and even look at the chat. Stephen Braddock.
I think that would be the sensible. I think that would be the sensible way to go.
Well,
I recently saw a piece with James Gunn talking about the DC studio stuff, which I'm a little bit obsessed with, I admit. But Gunn was speaking specifically about Batman, when people were saying they're pushing for him with, when are you going to cast Batman? What about Batman? What about Batman? Because obviously Batman is DC's biggest character in print and in cinema, really. And James Gunn's very good with the audience, so he was kind of finding a way of kind of quelling people's ardor a little and being very friendly about it. And he was talking about Batman, obviously because you've got the Matt Reeves films going on, and he said, there's plenty of room for our Batman, but it will be different. He won't be a dour Batman. He said, and the reasoning was, he said, in the Matt Reeves movies, the Matt Reeves Batman exists in a world where there are no metahumans. Nobody is super powered. It's human beings that do this shit, and they find ways and means that drive them to do these unspeakable things. And he's another man who's got to stop them. Whereas in the DC studio stuff, it's a world where gods and monsters exist. There is the supernatural. There are metahumans, all that kind of thing. So it would require a different kind of Batman. I thought, now that's really interesting, because depending on the version of Bond's world that Villeneuve and the writer come to in deciding the kind of story that they want to tell, I think will decide. Well, I think it will inform the choice of the setting, the flavor of the entire film, the technology, and that may indeed shape the requirements of anybody that they would look to put into that lead role, and some of the supporting cast as well, but obviously particularly that lead role, because all of these men that we're looking at on screen now, they were all very much sort of men of our time, weren't they? And if you, but these were films that ran in parallel to real world events, and real world technologies. If they were to go that way with Bond now, whereby it would be in the past or in a kind of perhaps land with one foot in the 50s and one in the 90s, then the character would have to be different, is what I'm saying. It becomes something else. And maybe the time is right for it to be something else.
Well, one thing that I don't want to see, and I think this is where they're rumored to be going, is they want to do a Bond origin story. We already had that. Daniel Craig,
I don't want
Casino
that.
Royale is an origin story. And Sean Connery did not start out as an origin story.
They just will straight into it.
It's like I would wish it to be contemporary too. I'd say the early 1960s when the movie started, even though they were written in mostly the 50s. You could make a current year, but you can't have it be current year like the crap that we see now. It's what Daniel Craig, what that entire era missed. Like Casino Royale is a brilliant film, but I don't really think it's a Bond film. I think that entire genre missed the point of James Bond, where what James Bond is, it's not a depression story. It's it's a male power fantasy. That's what it is. Like when you were a kid, like when I talked to my dad who grew up with this, when they saw it in the 60s, every guy wanted to be James Bond. It's not about being depressed. It's not about philosophical questions. It's not about any of that crap. It's about a spy that goes out and shoots people in absurd and exciting ways. And the plots, they have to be completely over the top, because most good Bond movies, including Moonraker, which is the most over the top, but the scenarios have to be absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to destroy the world. Why? I don't know. I'm just going to destroy the world. Okay, then let's go with that. It's like it needs to be not anything we've seen in the past 10 years. And I'm still a little concerned that this is Amazon because of what they did to Lord of the Rings. But the difference is you have a very accomplished, very talented director in charge, whereas with Lord of the Rings, you had those two idiots. What I would like to see them do, and I don't know if they said about this, but they should be developing, and this is Amazon, they have the money. They should be developing 3 to at the most 4, but at least 3 films at the same time for consistency, so it doesn't just completely unravel like the last 2 Bonds did by the end. Have some kind of idea of where you're going with this. Even honestly, do a Lord of the Rings thing, like real Lord of the Rings, and shoot them back to back. Maybe have one every year and a half, every 2 years. They should be out at Christmas time.
And there needs to have some momentum behind this to make up for lost ground, lost time, where I'd say that, we nearly lost Bond. If not literally, then certainly as a pop culture event, Rabbi. I think that it was a case that the whole generation was starting to grow up and not without any real awareness of what James Bond was for, who it represented, and why it was important or had been successful. And they can't afford for this franchise to go back to that place. It's the same old story. It's for different reasons, but the results are still the same.
Well, Bond is. I don't know if Bond can survive 2 bad Bond movies back to back.
Probably not.
And I think we basically,
even though we've had that.
I was going to say, didn't we just have 2 Bond? So that's why I think they got to go for some kind of complete reboot. But it does seem to me, again, the overwhelming vibe running the entertainment industry is now respecting the franchises and not destroying them if at all possible, and also trying to retain the cinematic experience. I think James Gunn very much trying to do that, right? Tom Cruise very much did that with Mission Impossible. And I think that's going to be an ongoing push to get people to go back to watching movies in the cinema again. So, honestly, I think James Bond is great. Is a cinematic experience. Yep. Even what was this? One of the last ones, wasn't it?
Sorry, what was that, Rabbi?
That was. This picture is from View to a Kill.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say it's one of the later ones.
Yeah,
that View to a Kill was a mistake. Roger Moore should not have been playing James Bond in A View to a Kill. It was Grandpa Bond.
With what's his name, Grace Jones. I was wondering for
There's some good stuff in that one.
It's
I was just going to say
that it was so easy to get Bond wrong, wasn't it, Gary? But yeah, go on. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say two things I don't want. No arcs. Keep the movies self-contained.
Yes.
None of this multi-movie arc thing where you find out that the last 5 movies are tied together. Not cut that out. Yes. Also, none of this, and I think they did this for every single one of the Craig ones. None of this stuff of, we're going to examine whether there's a place for Bond in the modern world.
Yeah. Bullshit.
Cut that crap out. Stop it.
And what you need to do, even though, and no, it's not being the M-anistic word. I don't know, that might get Dan in trouble. James Bond is about a spy, and I'm sorry, but it's also about pretty ladies. And James Bond doing naughty things with the pretty ladies. And it's not a crime to say that. You need to bring it back. You need to, I think they need to cast an unknown, not somebody under 30, not somebody over 45, say between 35 and 45. All of us are too old to be James Bond, so we will never be James Bond.
It's a real killer. When I realized that, a few days ago,
the Bond
it was
girl.
a real wounder.
I do think it was that Anna de Armas probably held up the last one. She was the best thing about it, and the scenes she was in was great. And afterwards, you can kind of forget it. And before you can kind of forget it, but she was great. Yeah, and why? Because she's a sexy woman who likes being a sexy woman and knows she's a sexy woman.
Now,
Stop
Chris
apologizing for making
right.
Bond movies.
Chris is right. We're all too old to be Bond, but we all will take roles as extras in the villain's control room. We can do that.
We could be cute.
I've always wanted to be one of the henchmen. Like, when you have people like sitting around the pool, these like gorgeous women and men, they're sitting around by the pool and they're going to repopulate the earth with them. I want to be one of them. That's totally me.
Okay, so I'm going to say this is now, nobody wants to see any of us hanging around a pool.
Oh, I think it'd be hilarious.
We've got lots of comments on this in the live chat, as you can imagine. Stephen Braddock says it's an excellent choice for Bond director. James Burns adds it all depends on the script. I wouldn't say it all depends on the script, but obviously that is the next piece of the puzzle. In my view, it's more important than the guy playing Bond.
It's one of the 3 equals. Actually, Dan, I'd say there's 3 things that are equally important that they have to get right. One is the script, one is the casting of Bond, and the other is the visual and audio, but mainly visual look of the movie. I'm confident in the visual look, but we still need to find out about those other 2 important factors. And if you fail either of those, if you miscast, and I really hope that rumor that came out last week was just that, a rumor. You could have a brilliant director, great script. If you have a crappy Bond, it's going to suck. You'd have a great director, a great Bond. If you have a stupid script, it's going to suck. And the director thing, like I said, we don't need to worry about that because I'm confident in the director they chose. So we'll know for sure when those other 2 elements find out. But the big thing is going to be who is Bond and what I want. I don't want a known actor anymore. At one point I would have said Henry Cavill. I think he's actually aged out of the role now. And I think I think it's past time for him. I want to see an unknown or little known actor. I want to see somebody I can identify as James Bond rather than that's that guy I've seen in those other 15 movies who's now playing Bond. No, I want somebody that can embody Bond.
That's why I've pretty much vetoed any mention of Henry frigging Cavill when it comes to this part, because he's always bored me. I know I've said it all on this show time and time again. Thank heaven he's aged out, because he'd have made the most boring Bond of all time. And any comments in the live chat speculating that Henry Cavill would make a decent Bond are going to get ignored, I'm afraid, guys, because it's complete bollocks. Hello all, says Mr. Matt. Hello, Mr. Matt. What else have we got? Let's pick through some more comments, some more pearls of wisdom. Brosnan is the most psycho cold Bond killer. I'd probably agree with that up to a point. I think he had the most moments where he could be sort of icy like that.
It's more killing people than making jokes about it, I think.
Yeah.
In Culture Casino's in the live chat, and he speculates that Denis Villeneuve ruined Dune, so he's not a fan of those movies.
It's not as fun as the other versions, but it's a solid movie. It's a solid version too.
And you know what? We have right now, thanks to streaming, we have realistic spy shows coming out of our ears, from Slow Horses, Day of the Jackal, all those. We don't need another one of those. Make this an escapist fantasy Bond. We don't need the realism.
No, not at all. Villeneuve made some good films, but how will they cast? See, it's understandable that people kind of want more answers, more. Nolan is overrated, adds Dr. Rick Douglas, MD.
I would say Nolan is good, but he does a specific style, and there is a certain, even though they're brilliant, there is a certain sameness to all their movies. Denis Villeneuve, damn it. Even though his recent movies are very similar, there is a variety. You watch Polytechnique and compare it to Dune, you'd have no idea it was the same director. You take any Nolan film, you can tell it's the same director. So I think, I'll just say his first name, Denis is, I love Nolan, but I think Denis might be the superior director. Some will disagree with me, but that's my take.
Anthony Parkinson speculates here Amazon wanted Jonathan Nolan, but he demanded final cut. Do you really think Denis Villeneuve isn't going to get the final cut of this film? Come on now. See, it's the kind of bollocks you get, culture war bullshit, and people just come out with. No offense, Anthony, but whoever's put that your way, I'd sort of ignore them. What else is here?
I don't know. See, there could possibly be an element to that, Dan, because I think when this Nolan rumor came out, this was like 4 years ago, and I think Amazon was a lot more brazen back then because this was before the Lord of the Rings and everything they've put out. So I think there's a possibility that may have come up with Nolan, because this is
depends if you're talking about Christopher Nolan or Jonathan Nolan.
Oh no, I thought you said Christopher Nolan.
I thought that the gentleman in the live chat, it was Anthony, wasn't it, meant Jonathan Nolan because he was also on the shortlist.
Oh no, the rumor was Christopher Nolan a few years ago. I think this was around 2021 where he actually approached. Actually, I think this was before even Amazon owned it, when it was still an MGM Broccoli property. And from the way I gathered, I think Nolan had actually approached them about directing the next film, and at some point there was a blow up.
Yeah, I do remember something along those lines.
Yeah. So I think, I have a feeling that may have been part of it, where Amazon no, we get to say it. I think it was just, it ended up being I have a feeling it ended up being a pissing contest, is why that fell apart.
Well, the whole thing,
I think Amazon
the whole thing looked like a total cluster.
Yeah, it wasn't going to happen.
Barbara Broccoli called one person a fucking idiot. You know, and this woman is known for her professionalism. You know, they must have pushed her pretty hard for her to come out with something like that. Neville is one of many people in the live chat kind of voicing the same, really, that for me, everything Bond is encapsulated in the 60s. I think there's that line about being a hangover from the Cold War, isn't it? Leftover from the Cold War. I think that is very much true of Bond's world now, that it was contemporary when Fleming was writing them. Now it is the real world past, and it's the cinema past. So to decide how much of that to move forward with when Bond is of its time, in the same way that I think Sherlock Holmes is some of its time, I think that's tricky. I'm glad it's not me that's going to be doing it, but I do have more confidence in this director than I would have had in some arsehole coming off the back of a Marvel film.
I wouldn't want to do it.
Mr. Matt says hello. No, I wouldn't want to either. I want secret bases and volcanoes.
Yes.
Give me that DS9 episode
and sharks with laser and sharks with lasers on their head.
Dr. Rick believes origin stories are canon killers.
Yeah.
Bond's origin should be obscure. Yeah, the more I think about this, actually, Rabbi, I think I think they got away with it with Casino Royale, but to go back to do that, I think it would be.
Well, they got away with it because it was a very good movie, and it was very innovative, and it was Bond in a new direction, and it worked. And I didn't think that Daniel Craig was going to be good at it, and it turned out. It was just a fun.
And then we saw what happened to Daniel Craig.
Rabbi, I think if we'd have seen him as an 8-year-old boy, sort of watching his watching his parents killed in an avalanche while he's skiing. I think that is a true origin story where you see. I think it works with Batman because you got the bit in Crime Alley, but there's always that big jump. To do that with Bond, I think that is quite right. Whoever said that?
Yeah, origin stories need to be. I think at this point the origin stories need to be retired because. How many times have they done Batman? How many times have they done Spider-Man? How many times have they done Superman?
Well, they did Bond once. Actually, the origin story in the new Superman, from what I understand.
Sorry, what was that, Rabbi?
I don't think there's an origin story.
Oh no, there isn't. I think James Gunn deliberately did not do it because it's already been done twice, and it was.
I would actually say of all of these franchises, Bond, the character of Bond's actual origin is totally irrelevant.
It's almost like I think I agree with that, Gary. I think it's kind of like that British show that I won't mention by name that they ruined. But I think that British show and Bond, I think those are two characters where I think not knowing the origins is part of the appeal and part of why we like these characters. We don't know how Bond became Bond. Well, unfortunately, we do now. But prior to 2006, we didn't know how Bond became Bond, and that was part of the fun. He was just, this suave, cool guy that shot up bad guys.
It's like we didn't know how Indiana Jones. It's like we didn't know how Indiana Jones became Indiana Jones. We didn't care.
No, we don't need to know where they come from. Sometimes characters are just cool, and I think that's something that Hollywood forgot. I'd say not just in the age of woke, but probably in the last 25 years. You don't need to do origin stories. It's an origin movie. Say if you watch, pick any series, or you got the origin movie, you got the whole origin story. I think in each case, the origin story sucks. It's like you compare it to a TV series, which I've used this analogy before, is why the origin story sucks. Think of any long-running TV series, say ran 8, 9, 10 seasons, whatever. The show that you love is always going to be right in the middle. And a lot of people noticed this when DVDs started coming on for the first time. You were visiting your shows from the beginning. The show that you love, the show that everybody loved, typically, maybe the occasional exception, but normally it's the show that existed in those middle seasons. So say it's a 10-season show. It's going to be seasons 4, 5, 6, and 7. You go after that, the show is out of steam. You go before that, it's boring. So you go and, I love this show. It's the Adventures of Mr. Coffee Cup. I just came up with that off the top of my head. But the Mr. Coffee Cup, you remember, is the middle season's Mr. Coffee Cup. You go back to that first season of Mr. Coffee Cup, and it's going to suck. It's going to be boring. You don't care where Mr. Coffee Cup came from. You have to wait until they release that fourth season to get the exciting adventures of Mr. Coffee Cup. That's the same thing with these. We don't care where James Bond came from. We want to go when Mr. Denny. We get it. We want to go right back. We want to go into the middle to when it was cool. We don't want to go to the end, and we don't want to go to the beginning. So that's my TV show analogy. And I think if everybody thinks of your favorite shows, if you've gone back to revisit them after a while, you will see the same thing. The origin always sucks. It's the middle that we want. That's my theory.
I can't see him going there. Obviously, I don't know the bloke. I've seen like 2 or 3 interviews with him. I've only seen 3 of his movies. But what I have seen and read and picked up from elsewhere, people who really love his work, particularly the Dune films, and several people in the live chat don't care for them at all. I didn't enjoy them as much as a lot of people did, but it'd be foolish for me to say they were unsuccessful. They clearly met their remit, found their audience, and they do seem to be actually, with the benefit of time, I think it's been 2 or 3 years since the first one came out, maybe 4 years, then they're certainly getting more and more popular. So clearly he was on the mark with that, and maybe even slightly ahead of his time. My take on this director's being appointed is that he wouldn't be doing this if he didn't already have a fairly solid idea on how his Bond film is going to look and feel, and a really sort of comfortable grip on how to aim it at the populist audience. I know he's not necessarily made major populist films, but I don't know. I think this could be the one that sort of changes things up for him, and we're going to get something really quite different by the time it's released. Filming on the project isn't expected to get underway until late next year. That's at the earliest. It's probably going to drift into 2027. Amazon initially said they wanted to release this in 2028. It's possible they could turn it around by then. I don't know. It's difficult to say, isn't it? It's difficult to say.
It depends on how much effects it needs, I guess. I think it's doable. I get a feeling there's going to be a lot of in-camera effects.
Well, I think that's the big thing. No CG, but I think if it takes longer, I think that's a bad sign. That's another sign of the past 20 years where it takes like 5 years to develop a movie.
Oh, right, because they like reshoot it twice.
Yeah,
no CGI windsurfing, please.
Actually, here's an idea, Gary. No CGI at all.
Oh, yes.
Like, just I'm tired of CG. I want it to go off and die. If you are a competent filmmaker, if you have competent people working on the film, there is no reason that it should take 3 years unless you suck at your job. Competent people could have a film out in at most the next 2 years.
Have you seen that movie Havoc on Netflix? Because it blew my mind.
Yeah, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago.
Forget CG. It was done with AI. Right, the big car chase at the beginning.
Okay, no way.
The conversation is turning in the broader media to who's going to play James Bond. Of course, it is. And none of us are going to be able to guess this one. I suspect. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be this bloke, though. This is Aaron Pierre. He's a British actor. He's only 31 years of age. And nothing against him at all. You know, he's been in quite a few things already. He's recently voiced Mufasa in the Lion King prequel movie, which absolutely bombed, didn't it? But he has been in things that have been relatively successful. And he's considered to be somebody who is up and coming. He played Malcolm X in something called Genius. He was in the Shyamalan movie Old. And he had a recurring part in a DC TV show on the Sci-Fi Channel called Krypton, which was like cheesy stuff, really. But at the moment, he's over at DC Studios again with James Gunn. He is playing the much-loved legacy character, Jon Stewart, in this first live-action event series from DC Studios, just called Lanterns. There he is with his co-star Kyle Chandler. So he is somebody that's probably going places. But the idea, and I like, of course, he's British. Fair enough.
Just came up with your perfect casting choice,
and he's a big bloke. But I just cannot see them going with this guy as Bond. And obviously, we don't know. None of us know what's going on in Denis' head. I'm pretty certain they're going to go with a traditional piece of casting with this. Basically, they're not going to go for a black Bond. Those days are well and truly over.
It would be done.
Woke is dead. By the time this comes out in 2028, 2029, you really think they're still going to be going for this identity politics bullshit?
Make fun of it. There's going to be a lot in, say, 10, 20 years' time. There's going to be a lot of just awesome comedy period piece movies coming out about this past decade. And it has nothing to do with, I haven't seen this guy in anything, but I'm sure he's a fine actor. But it's like, no,
people like him, but that's James Bond because people like him, but that's beside the point, isn't it, Chris?
It's like I can play James Bond because I'm Canadian. Gary couldn't play James Bond because he's American. Dan could play James Bond, so we could cast Dan. But no, James Bond, he is a white, 40-ish British male.
What happened to me? Why did I get looking?
Well, you don't live in the.
You're going to be Q, Rabbi.
Okay, here we go. Rabbi can be the next Bond. Well, no, you too, Rabbi. You've aged out. Well, actually,
I'm too virile, right?
Yeah, there we go.
Even though this Aaron Pierce story's been everywhere, this week, and I don't like saying this because he does seem like he's a decent enough actor. I have seen him in things; he's perfectly fine, and I'm very excited to see him as Jon Stewart. I think it'd be brilliant. There's no actual source you can trace this back to. Exactly. All of this entire sort of narrative seems to have been invented by one singular X account simply fanning the flames of the culture war. Yeah. As I've said before, presently where we are, one side of the aisle, the wokey-cokies, they are all addicted to division and to conflict. On this side of the aisle, if you like the center or the center-right, sadly, we have also become addicted to outrage and getting outraged about stuff like this. So people running social media accounts and running AI-generated slop content on websites come up with these stories to get that kind of reaction. There is no substance to this
I think
at all.
I think, Dan, we're I think our side, like the woke side, is always going to be like that, and the people that need the content, they're always going to be like that. I would say for the center, we're more in the age of pessimism, and I think no, it is, and I think if there is a culture war, I think it's going to be slightly different. They call it the term that they use is the age of slop. I'll call it the age of mediocrity. Because there is a possibility we could be headed into a second age of mediocrity. Because if you remember before the woke period, there was a time from, I'd say, the second half of the 90s to probably 2006, 2007-ish, where aside from the occasional outlier, you had just crap. It wasn't woke. It was a different kind of crap. And especially in horror, the 2000s was the age of remakes, and most of them were terrible, not very good to terrible. So it's the culture war it's going to take a few years to see how these things go. And I think sort of the tone really is going to be set when we finally see Superman. That might set the tone for the next decade. But I think there could be another culture war where it's not against woke, because that is dead. That's never coming back. Well, no, it will come back eventually, but not for
a mutual friend of ours says quite regularly that hope is not a strategy. Hello, Gary, if you're watching. And
it isn't, because
it's very, very true.
Yeah, it's no, hope isn't a strategy. I'm like, we have to be realistic, because those of us were all of a certain age where we've lived through and experienced in real time several eras of Hollywood. And there have been great eras, like the 80s, I would say, was great. The first half of the 90s was great, not for horror. That was a whole other story. But we've been through bad horrors. We've been through like the remake late 90s, early 2000s, where the best thing you'll get is Mission Impossible 2, which in retrospect now is hilarious, but it was terrible at the time. So that's...
Do you remember all the bad superhero movies before Marvel?
Yeah, well, that's the age of mediocrity. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, like, the Daredevil. That Daredevil really is
Catwoman.
Oh God.
We'll
call it the age of Catwoman, where it's like literally you had your summer blockbusters, but you knew they were going to be crap, but you were going to go see them because there's nothing else, because we all want to go see movies in the summer, but we're going to go see Mission Impossible 2. We know it's going to be crap, and it was, although it's hilarious now. Or Twister, or whatever your movie was. It's going to be big booming noises, and it's going to be terrible. And we got to the point where we were accepting that. And then by the late 2000s, we had a refresh, oddly enough, starting with the MCU, but also horror for the first time in over a decade went in an original direction. We had, adult oriented horror. We had a brief period from 2007, 2008 to maybe around 2015 when woke came in, where we did have a lot of really cool stuff. And also the remakes were better at that point too. I just Dread, just as an example. But then it went to complete crap for a decade.
It was a good movie.
Yeah. It wasn't terrible, but we don't want to go back to that. What I would like to go back to is that sort of 2007-ish to 2015 period, which is the period that was abandoned for woke, what I call the lost era of Hollywood, where you did have interesting things. I'd like to see us go back to that, but my concern is that we're going to go back into the late 90s, early 2000s, where we're still remaking everything, and it's not woke, it's just terrible.
Yeah. I see your concern. Finally, we've got a comment here from PD Richie. Says, if the rumors were right, would you really want someone with only a few film credits playing Bond? Film credits, I think it's fine.
Yeah, that was Connery before Dr. No.
As long as they've got credits, they could be theatre actors. I like the idea of lifting a next to unknown and making them a movie star in the sense that we used to get movie stars. I put slightly more credibility behind this, but only slightly, because Variety are claiming they've got an insider who is fingering these three young actors, because apparently it's accepted. It's accepted that with this generation of Bond movies, the one thing that's been voiced over and over again is that Amazon want to cast somebody in their early 30s, 30, 31, 32, something
dead
like
on
that.
arrival. Dead on arrival. You will
I don't mind that at all. I don't mind that at all. I mean, for me, James Bond should be around 36, 37, and then age with the part. But someone of 31, 32, I could live with that.
Not these three.
I think it. Well, yeah, I think it depends on the actor. So I've got here. So this is Jacob Elordi, who was in Saltburn. There's Harris Dickinson, who's in something called Baby Girl, and Tom Holland, who we know best as Spider-Man. I've only seen Tom Holland to the best of my knowledge, so I don't know anything about these two guys. To me, have they got the look? I don't know. Because actors can transform, can't they? So I'm trying not to be too judgmental. I can't speak for any of these three guys because I've only seen one of them act. I don't think Tom Holland is right for Bond at all, but I have no opinion at all about the other two guys.
Well, here's the thing, Dan. I think, and age is relative. Like, everybody ages. Somebody could look and act very old at 31, or they could act like a 15-year-old. Although now it's probably closer to 15. So I think the actual age number might be slightly irrelevant. It's
me too.
Sort of how
you
old
can
they
cast a 31, 32-year-old and get them to play it as a 36, 37-year-old, or
there has to be a certain grizzled appearance to Bond. I think Pierce Brosnan is a perfect example when he was originally cast, and I think he was 41.
Ultimate 40, James Bond in many respects.
I think you can't have a fresh-faced kid playing Bond because, again, this is a suave guy. This is somebody who's got experience. It needs to have somebody who has slightly grizzled looks, which every Bond including Daniel Craig, had. Bond cannot be a fresh-faced kid. It just doesn't work, and you're going to lose the audience. That's why I think visually may not, in terms of actual age, be over 40, but I think what we perceive of as 36 to 40, that's your James Bond, and it has to be in there. If it's these three past them, it's not James Bond.
Rabbi, what was that?
This definitely looks like a Bond Begins of the, and I'm open-minded but highly skeptical. I'm reminded of when I saw Robert Pattinson being cast as Batman. I went, well, that's ridiculous. Robert Pattinson can't play Batman. That sounds the stupidest thing ever. And then I'm like, well, they're working it. Maybe I'm sure they've got a plan and everything. And I saw it and went, oh my God, Robert Pattinson's awful as Batman. What terrible casting. How could anybody in it? I think it's, I'm open-minded to see what they're going to do with it, but I don't see how they can make that work.
No,
they're not paying me to make it work. So that would explain that.
If I'm wrong, and I will admit that I'm wrong because I admitted that I was wrong with Picard season 3, for example. I really ate crow with that.
Yeah.
So I will admit, say they cast a younger character and it works. I will admit I'm wrong. But I'm saying here right now, the way I look at it right now, a young, fresh-faced Bond will kill the franchise. So I'm open to being wrong. I hope I'm not wrong, but that's my view. So, Denny, prove me wrong.
Somebody in the chat.
Swagger.
Exactly. You got to have the presence of Bond, where when you see him, you immediately he has that Bondness. Somebody in the chat. There you go. Perfect. He's got to be old enough to have been a naval commander before he was brought into as a spy.
Exactly. Like, it's just pure logic. You're not going to accomplish all of that before you're 35. No.
I mean, maybe when I first saw those 3 pictures, I thought, well, maybe if they were doing a live action version of that old James Bond Jr. cartoon, I would put one of those 3 in it, but not for the actual character.
No.
It's more. I guess it's more like a young James Bond. It feels like more of a spin-off.
I wouldn't even want to see it as a spin-off, maybe as a separate character. But I think it's important because we've seen this done, especially with that British character that I won't mention by name. But even, as a side project or something else, I think you can ruin a character if you say, okay, this is young James Bond, even though it's not part of the main franchise, maybe a side series, maybe a side movie. I think it actually does work to diminish the character because I think, again, this is a character that has to be cool. He has to be suave. He has to be a womanizer. And we don't want to picture this person at 20. Like I don't want to know what James Bond was like at 20. I want to know what he was like when he became Sean Connery or Pierce Brosnan or Timothy Dalton, Roger Lazenby. You can take that one and make it go away.
Before we close out,
George,
I wanted to acknowledge the career resurgence of Pierce Brosnan here. He's never really been completely away from the cinema, or from TV. Come to think of it, in his 45-year career in TV and film in Britain and in the States, but he's turning up everywhere at the moment. And I just think it's a joy to see him listed in Mobland here with Helen Mirren and Tom Hardy again. Rabbi, I know you said this is a great show from
Loved
Guy
it.
Ritchie.
Absolutely. And he was great in it. So was she. They're in something else as well. Pierce Brosnan and Helen Mirren has become like a double act.
Yeah.
You know, these are the parts he's sort of grown into. He's still annoyingly handsome and charismatic, but a great actor.
These characters are bonkers. In Mobland, actually Helen Mirren, she is batshit crazy in that. Oh my God, it's awesome.
I never would have thought he could be that terrifying. Like
people used to dismiss Pierce Brosnan as being a walking tailor's dummy who didn't really have any range, and here he is now taking these character parts. I suppose you could say that Hugh Grant is also doing this to some degree or another.
I don't know. They're both doing it wonderfully. And like Hugh Grant, and I can't remember the name of the movie now, but was awesome doing Creepy.
Heretic.
As soon as I saw that ad, because I'm used to seeing Pierce Brosnan in like James Bond, Mamma Mia, I'm used to seeing him as that. Then as soon as I saw the ad for Mobland, I'm like, oh my God, he's actually terrifying. Then I still need to watch the last episode, but then I watched the show. I'm like, my God, he is one of the most terrifying characters I have ever seen on screen.
The last episode has this moment with him and Helen Mirren, which is crazy. I'm not even going to tell you. Well, obviously not going to spoil it.
Well, no, it's awesome. Down to his accent, down to everything. I'm like, my God, this is James Bond. This is one of the most terrifying characters
I've put this quite high up on my list of shows to watch at the moment. But also, I'm looking forward to this too. This was originally going to be a Netflix movie, but they've just announced that it's going to go into cinemas after all. So it's it's going to be it's based on a book by Richard Osman, and it's called the Thursday Murder Club. It's going to reteam Pierce Brosnan with the director of Mrs. Doubtfire, that's Chris Columbus, along with Helen Mirren again, Ben Kingsley, and Celia Imrie in this movie. Yeah, I sort of dismissed this as something that I wasn't going to be worthy of my time, but I watched the trailer this week and I thought it looked really quite good. And so it says it's a riot of dastardly deeds, country houses, and a star-studded cast full to the brim with some of Britain's most legendary thespians. Richard Osman's book is the best-selling novel of the century so far. It's a kind of goofy crime book, as you can probably imagine. And this film follows a gang of retirees whose passion for cold cases and true crime takes a turn for the deadly when an all-too-real murder shatters their lifestyle at a retirement village in the English countryside. So this does look like fun. Pierce Brosnan, he seems to be playing the sort of the oldest rocker in town kind of thing, with a tattoo on his hand. And Richard Osman himself announced just this week some very good news for everyone who wanted to see the Thursday Murder Club movie on the big screen. Netflix have listened to the clamour, and it will now an exclusive run in the UK cinemas from August the 22nd. So again, I think it's fun is on its way back. I think it's great that Pierce Brosnan is in the mix with Helen Mirren, because I got a lot of time for her as well. Yep. But I sent you the trailer for this, guys. I just thought this looked delightful, and I probably won't go to the cinema to see it myself, but I can see this is the kind of thing you could take your silver-topped mum to go and see.
No, this is a Netflix movie. I would not. Look, it's class. It's got a great cast, but I'm looking forward to watching it on Netflix. Putting it in the cinema, to me, kind of devalues it weirdly. I don't know why. Like, because most of the time you get these Netflix movies, then they're not really that good, right? This looks like it's really, Parker. It's like it's a real movie. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to head off into the sunset. I'm trying to keep my eyes open.
He's cream crackered. He's off.
I was waiting for the cream crackered comment, dude. You got to say
I am cream crackered, and not in the good way, baby. not the good way.
Thank
Thank
you for joining us, Rabbi. See you next time, mate. See you next time. Yeah, I mean, for me,
I can't wait for this. This is like right up my alley.
Well, I accept what the rabbi said. I think he's true for the most part. Come to think of it, but on the other hand, I do wonder, Gary, if something is the best-selling movie of the century so far, 25 years, why wouldn't they put a movie of the best-selling book of the century in the cinema?
Even if they drop this into, which I hope they do, U.S. cinemas, I'll go down and see this in the theater. Why not? I mean, there's hardly anything that'll get me to the theater these days. I definitely go see this. Why not? It's a fun couple of hours in the movie. Sure thing.
I didn't even know it existed because I just watched the non-woke documentaries on Netflix these days. But I didn't even know about this until Dan sent me the link, and I'm like, this actually looks really cool. Now, my disappointment is, and yes, Brosnan and Helen Mirren, based on what I just saw, that alone, without knowing anything else, has sold me on it. Although this is one that looks like I would probably like to have a 4K physical media release, but since it's Netflix, we will almost certainly never get that. But I am looking forward to watching it. It looks cool, and it's, this, Dan and Gary, sort of what I was saying earlier, potentially going into the age of slop. But when I see trailers like this, and 95% of what's on Netflix is complete garbage, but there's that 5% that's always awesome. This looks to be in that 5%. So if we get stuff like this, like the trailer looks good, we still need to see the actual movie. Yeah. But if we can get, if stuff like this can be the norm, something that wouldn't have been greenlit 5 years ago, or it would have been a woke disaster. If things like this can be the norm, then maybe we can avoid the age of slop. Give me stuff like this. Give me like mid to low budget stuff that isn't terrible. So that's our new mission, guys. Avoiding the age of slop, or I'm not going to use that term. I'm going to use the second age of mediocrity. That you could use it. I'm copywriting it. The second age of mediocrity. That's what we're trying to avoid. So give us more stuff like that.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, with all of that. Let's have some of the good stuff. Let's hope that Denis Villeneuve can bring us a decent Bond this time. Or audiences are pretty unforgiving. We'll kick them to the curb, won't we, Gary?
Oh, thanks for this. This is I think Roger Moore's finest moment as Bond when he kicks the car over the cliff.
So James Bond will return. Will our hopes for the film series? Where are you with this? We've got some great comments so far. Thank you, everybody. The conversation can continue. You don't have to stake your claim to your ultimate take here and now. You can join us in the comments, and we'll chat about it some more. By all means, are you going to go and watch some more of Denis Villeneuve's films, like I am? Because I've been found rather wanting. I'm going to do that.
Polytechnique, but not if you're sad.
I'm going to go watch Arrival.
We all want to know how long, roughly, we're going to expect you to wait for the next Bond film, because it's already been quite a while. But obviously, we'll have the answers when we have the answers. I suppose we're just as keen here as you are, as you can tell.
Our intrepid explorers from Neatwheatland arrive on a starving planet.
Crowns. Exactly, Duck. Titty breakfast plague. No! This planet suffers from zero energy in the morning.
Send our Neatwheat to help this planet, Brian!
Okay! You make it neat wheat, mate. If you know what's good for you, the Weetabix. Okay!
This is the Spacebook Live on Rumble and on YouTube Live, streaming Saturdays from 8 p.m. UK time here, high above the atmosphere, or just high, generally high on life and high on optimism. I don't know. It doesn't hurt every now and again, just for a couple of hours before. Yeah, I like that, Chris. I like that. Our Bond is, you know what? Every Bond film, including the ones I don't like, do make me feel like a kid again Gary, and we'll be going back and we'll be revisiting some of the older Bond movies and various other bits of the Bond legacy over the next few weeks and months.
I think I'm going to watch A View to a Kill tonight. Even though Roger Moore is old, I like the movie, so I'm going to watch Bond tonight.
It's fun,
and everything about Bond like sticks in our memory. Somebody can say, "Where did you first see fill in the blank movie?" You could say, "Oh, I saw that movie there with my dad or my mom or whoever."
Yeah.
With Bond, it like is cemented. Everything about it is cemented into our memories.
I saw them all on the infamous CED laser discs, and A View to a Kill was one of the last CEDs ever released.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. We used to get them on television virtually constantly in Britain on ITV.
They've probably been re-released more times than any other franchise. Well, maybe Star Wars.
I'd say so. So let us know where you first saw Bond. Who was your first Bond? Who's your favorite Bond? And let us know your picks as well for future James Bonds. I don't know. I think despite the fact that it could be a while until Villeneuve is off Dune 3 and onto Bond, maybe they will announce casting beforehand. Let us know what you think, when you reckon we could get it. And hit us up on our social medias, Instagram and X at the Spacebook, as always. Gary, you're sensible enough not to do much social media, aren't you?
I'm on Facebook. Yes, you can find me on Facebook.
I don't do Facebook.
I will welcome. We have a lot of great viewers, great people in the chat, and please contact me if you're so inclined.
If you don't know where to find the rabbi from another planet by now, you don't have to look in any hollowed out volcanoes. His voice sort of emanates wherever you are in the world. I think you can probably track it down and hone in on the rabbi's planet there. His YouTube channel, Sfila Betkin, aka the Rabbi from Another Planet. Go and hit that up. Or he's on X as well, chatting and sharing and getting into some of the most amazing fights with people. But there we are. That's how he lives. He lives his life on the edge, and he'll stay streaming until he's literally got to keep his prop his eyes open as well when he comes and joins us here. So I can't thank him enough for that. Go and hook up with the rabbi. Oh God, that sounds terrible. Yeah, go and contact the rabbi on social media there, on his YouTube channel or on X. Chris, great to have your company as always. Some people have noted that your picture may have changed again. I don't think it has, but is there any word? Is there any word of Frank?
Oh yeah. So so the picture that you've been seeing. So this was covered near the end of last week's stream. So we were given this picture of Frank. So we don't know exactly the context. We know he's still in jail, although for some reason he's in a forest. So we don't know where they've taken him. So we're quite concerned about Frank. So you can venture any kind of guess as to what's happening in this picture. I haven't gotten any more updates on Frank, but so yes, pray for Frank. As for myself, yes, I left the cesspool known as Facebook back in 2022, and I'd rather lie in front of a dump truck than ever go back. It's a fun place. Although Gary, you must join us covertly on the X, because we have chats where we have lots of fun discussions.
Okay, all right.
It's do what I tell people. Don't post on X. Just create an account so you can chat with people that aren't trash.
I'll do that.
But as for me, so I do have my two X accounts. So I have Bulls Trek, whose sole purpose is to make people angry, and boy does it work. Then I have my what I call my primary account, Cultivated Media Incorporated, or INC. Where we don't discuss any of that silliness and I've actually banned the words of a certain show on that account, so I won't even see it. But none of the silliness is allowed on that account. That's my fun account where I talk about what movies I'm watching. And then I also have a YouTube channel, which is on break now because it spent 8 hours in hell. But I spend all my time yelling. So if you want to check those out, probably maybe just I'll put something else out, but I just do YouTube when I feel like it.
There you go.
Yeah, so fun times, and it was a fun show today, and we'll see if we can get any more updates about Frank next week.
I've been thinking of him.
Yeah, poor Frank.
I have as we shoot off. Thank you everybody for all the comments there. We've been multiple streaming this pretty much everywhere. Mr. Matt, he's thinking of Frank as well. Frank, I'm not going to read that out, Matt. It's obscene. It's obscene.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I forget he said that. When people talk about their favorite Bonds as well, I'm happy to say. Mr. Matt, my chat has just jumped, but I did notice that Mr. Matt said that he once had a space hopper. Yes, I had a space hopper when I was a kid as well. Great days, Gary. Great days. They're more difficult to pilot than you'd think.
Hey, I love that movie. That's actually one of my favorite Connery Bonds. Was the Space Hopper. It really is.
Yeah, I can't pick a favorite. I sincerely can't.
I know we're getting ready to go. I'm going to ask you both a really quick question. Tell me the first thing that leaps in your mind. If Denis Villeneuve came to you and said, "Give me one of the Bond movies that you think I should use as a good template for my next movie," which of the 25 would you pick?
From Russia with Love.
Goldeneye.
Wow. Okay.
And I picked Goldeneye because that was my Bond. That was the first, even though I'd seen him, that was the first one that I saw in the theater. That was the big event. I am a kid of the 90s. I was sort of like at the prime Bond age. And I've watched that more than any other Bond film. So I think maybe it's nostalgia. Some people would say Connery, any Connery film. But no, I'm going to go with that.
Very good.
Don't do anything that came after that, because the other three Brosnan films, well, the last two specifically, stay away from those. But give me some Goldeneye. Give me that level of just fun and excitement. That's all I ask.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Gary?
I'd probably go for Spy Who Loved Me. You get the outlandish, because you have the outlandish villain, with the impossible lair, and the great woman and everything. And Denis, give us an iconic theme song, please, too. Just have everything be like a callback to everything we ever loved about the franchise.
We want it all when it comes to Bond, don't we? We want the lot. We're completely shameless. Yeah, work the shaft and all that kind of thing. Denis will give us the full works. And I won't complete that sentence. Okay, yes. So we're done. That's another Week in Geek, all burnt up very, very nicely. My thanks, as always, to the Rabbi from Another Planet. Cheers to you for joining us as well, Chris. Our thoughts will always be with Frank. And Retro Doc Gary Akers. Cheers again, pal. This is it now. We're off. We'll see you out there somewhere next time out there. Yeah, but forever awaits, everybody. Forever definitely awaits.